everyone! So for today's video, I wanted to sit down and film my go-to summer glam makeup. This makeup is super glowy, is full coverage, and will last you all day long. So if you want to find out how to get this look, just go ahead and keep on watching. I want to start off by apologizing if you hear some background noise. Oh wait, my mom is a second grade teacher and she's currently reading the BFG out loud to her students. Anyways, so if you hear something in the back, it's her reading out loud. I'm going to go ahead and start by moisturizing my lips. I've already done my skincare routine, so I already have my serums and moisturizer on. I haven't put anything on my lips yet, so I'm going to use this Sugar Advanced Therapy Lip Treatment. I just like to have something on while I'm doing my makeup that moisturizes my lips, so that way when I put my lipstick on, it just glides on super smooth. I'm going to start by priming, so the primers can really soak in to my skin while I'm doing the eyes. So first I'm going to take the Benefit Porefessional just in my T-zone, so right here, and then I'm going to be taking the Smashbox Primerizer. This one's almost out, but I have another one ready, but I want to use every last drop before I have to replace it. And then I'm going to take this on the rest of the face. Now we'll go ahead and prime the eyes, and I'm just going to use my Tarte Shapetape Concealer. So you can use a concealer or eyeshadow primer, whatever you have. This is just what I have. So I just put a little dot on like that, and then I take my beauty blender and I just pounce that in. Once that's blended in, I am using the Tarte Clay Play Volume 1 palette, and I will be taking this shade Solstice right here, just all over my lid, and this I'm just using an all over shadow brush from IT Cosmetics. And you just want to make sure that your primer or concealer is set and ready for eyeshadow. And you want to make sure that it's not going to crease. Next, I'm just going to dip back into my Tarte palette and take this super light shade called Journey and put that into my crease, just using a crease brush. And I'm not going to be super precise with this, I'm just throwing it in there super quick and just kind of building up the color. I absolutely love this palette. It has everything, like all the basic shades in it. I create so many looks just with this palette alone. I know it doesn't look like much, but you have these three shades, whoa, right here, and these can all be contour shades, and then you just have super basic eyeshadows. So anytime I'm creating a look, I usually will dip into this palette to use some of the colors in here, because Tarte eyeshadows are great, and these are just like basic must-have everyday shadows. Alright, so once you have that crease shade in there, I'm going to be taking this tiny Natasha Denona palette. This is the Mini Nude palette. The reason I got this was because I wanted to try her shadows before I splurged on one of the big palettes, and I'm loving this little palette, which is good but also bad because now I'm tempted to buy one of her eyeshadow palettes, which are pretty pricey. I am going to be taking this shade right here called Sienna. It's just another little bit deeper shade than that Journey shade that I just put in my crease, and I'm going to focus this one on the outer portion of my eye, and I'm going to blend it up into my crease as well, but this one's going to sit a little bit lower. And I'm using, this is just another crease brush. This one's from Real Techniques. It's the base eyeshadow brush. I use it as a crease brush. You can take any crease brush you want though. Oh shoot, I just dropped my eyeshadow palette and none of it cracked. Another reason why this palette is great. Oops. You shouldn't go dropping it, but if you accidentally do, it's not going to be the end of the world. And I'm just going to dip back into the Journey shade and make sure those shades are blended together. Now I'm going to dip back into the Natasha Denona palette, and I'm going to be taking the shade in the middle. It's called Luminous. This shimmer shade right here. And I'm taking my MAC 242 brush, and I'm going to pack this on in the inner portion of my eye, If you don't have this little Natasha Denona palette, you can use a shimmer from a different palette, or even a highlighter would work too. But before I dip in, I'm going to spray my brush with some Allnighter setting spray, and that will make the shimmer really pop on the eye. So I just spray it directly onto this brush, just a little spritz, and then I go into my shade and I just start packing it like that. This shade is already super pigmented on its own, so when you add that setting spray, it just really makes it pop. My mom is saying bye to all of her students. So I just took it a little bit more than halfway because we are going to be blending over that shade, so you want to initially put down a little bit more than what you actually want to show up on your eye in the end, which is why I brought it out a little more than halfway, so that by the end it'll probably go about halfway on my eye. And I'm just really quickly going to do the other eye. So once you have that shimmer shade down, it should look something like this. And then we are just going to dip back into the Journey shade and just blend all of this together like this. And I'm taking this shade into the inner corner just to blend out those edges a little bit. And then I'm going to take the Journey shade right where that shimmer shade meets with the other matte shades in this look, and I'm just going to blend them ever so slightly together because you don't want any harsh edges. Once you're satisfied with that, I'm just going to go back into that matte shade from the Natasha Denona palette and intensify the outer edge. You just constantly want to make sure that everything is blended back together, which is why I keep going back to this purple brush and just quickly sweeping everything together. Next, you're going to want to take a small brush like this. This is the Morphe M506. It's a little bit, the bristles are a little bit longer. You can take ones that are shorter, doesn't really matter, but just a smaller, more defined brush. And I'm going back into that Tarte palette, and I'm going to be using this shade Ember right here, just on the very, very outer portion of the eye. And I'm just taking a little bit of this because I just want to define that outer edge just a tad. Okay, so now it should look something like this, and I'm gonna go back in with the Journey shade and just blend out specifically these outer edges. So the last part of this eye look is taking a dark shade. I'm gonna be taking this shade called, what is it called? Bronze Age? It's like you can see it, this shade right here. So any deep shade that you would like. And I'm using a super tiny angled liner brush. So any small brush like this will work just fine. This one is the Wet n Wild one. And I just pack this shade on to the brush. And you are going to line your eye with this. You just want it to be right where your eyelashes meet your eye. So we're not trying to make this thick or anything like that. Just super skinny, and so it will be something that defines the eye without using eyeliner, if that makes sense. So you can see it's just really, really skinny on the, what's the word, where you would normally put eyeliner. But I like doing this because it's not as harsh as eyeliner, but it will still, excuse me, give your eye that defined look. Your eyes should be looking something like this. As you can see, that dark shadow close to your lash line just really helps to define your eye. But now we're gonna go ahead and jump into the face. So I'm gonna be taking my Catrice Liquid HD Coverage Foundation, and I have the shade 010 Beige. And this one right now is just a little bit light for me because I've been laying out in the sun, and I think I've finally gotten just a hint of color. So I'm going to be mixing in like 1 drop of my Wet n Wild Photofocus foundation, and actually combining these two really creates a formula that is super long wearing and super full coverage, because during the summertime I want my makeup to be full coverage and I want it to last me all day. I don't want it to fall apart by the end. So with the combination of those primers and these two foundations and then the powders I'm going to talk about, your foundation or your face makeup will last you all day long. So I'm just going to mix this together on the back of my hand, dot it around my face, and then use my Morphe M439 foundation brush to buff that all into the skin. And then I'm just going to take some more in areas where I want more coverage. Whatever is left on the back of my hand, I just dot it where I want more coverage. And I'm actually just going to let it sit there for a second because that will really help to intensify the pigmentation in that spot. And then I'm just going to, rather than those kind of buffing motions that I was doing before, I'm just going to really kind of pat and stipple that into those areas. Alright, now I'm just going to go over everything with my beauty sponge, and I'm going to take whatever is left on the back of my hand on my sponge and pounce that in. There's nothing on my sponge right now, but I'm just pouncing it all in, and then I'll go back with what's left over. As you can tell, I love as much coverage as possible. I did Accutane and it really helped with my acne, but it left me with a ton of scars that still haven't healed, and it's been about 4 years. So I've just gotten used to finding products that have lots of coverage. So next I'm going to fill in my brows, and I'm going to use the MAC Eyebrow Pencil, I don't know, in the shade Lingering. This I just got in a subscription box. It's not my favorite, it's not terrible, it gets the job done, but there's no spoolie on the other end, so you have to use a different one. And I normally start from the inside of my eyebrow and work my way out. So I'll start down here, go out, do the tail, and then I come back in with the pencil and try and do hair-like strokes. So yeah, I'm just gonna do those off camera real quick. Once you have those filled in, it is time for concealer. So I use a combination of Tarte Shapetape and the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. I use the Shapetape underneath my eyes and chin and Cupid's bow, and I use the Fit Me Concealer to cover the other areas under my eyes and my forehead and nose. I don't know, I just really like these concealers for those specific areas. This one tends to look a little bit heavy on other areas, and this one doesn't have as much coverage as I like for other areas, so the combination of the two I really like, but you don't have to be as high maintenance as me with that. Obviously, you use whatever you like. And my concealer is in the shade Fair Beige. This Maybelline one is in number 5 Ivory. And when you're blending underneath your eyes, it's really important that you blend both ways so that product really sinks into your skin and you're not just continuously pulling it one way. And then I do my nose last because I like that to really sit on my skin so it's pigmented right there. Because I don't contour my nose, I just kind of lighten up the top so then the sides look darker. Maybe I should contour my nose, but I don't really care that much. And I'm just blending the edges together to make sure everything is seamless. Okay, now the waterfall in my backyard is on, so sorry about that. And then while I let that sink in, I'm going to take some brow gel. I have been using the Essence Make Me Brow. I like this one because it's like, I don't know, $1.99 or something at Ulta. Super cheap. So once you have that brow gel brushed through your brows, I'm going to go ahead and set the under eyes. I use the RCMA No Color Powder. I put mine in this Laura Mercier old container because the packaging on the RCMA one isn't that great, but it is the RCMA powder, and this I just use for under the eyes. And you just want to go ahead and tap out any creases that may have happened. I have always used a kind of like an angled blush brush for underneath my eyes. I don't know why, I just feel like it fits so perfectly under there. You can obviously use any brush that you would like. I don't like to bake underneath my eyes because I think it dries them out. And I always start applying from the outer corner inwards. If there's any excess powder, I don't want it to be caked up right on the inner corner. I'd rather be able to brush it away on the outer corner, so always applied it like that. And once you have that on, you are going to take your powder and set the rest of your makeup. I use the Too Faced Peach Perfect Setting Powder. When I discovered this powder, I felt like the makeup game changed for me. This powder is amazing. It just keeps your makeup locked in all day, and when you apply it, It just like looks so good, and it smells like peaches. It's delicious. And then one trick that I like to use is I take another beauty sponge. This is the Eco Tools one, and I dump some powder into the cap, and I'll take my sponge and dip it in there and get some on the butt of my sponge, and then I press it in like this rather than using a brush to swirl on top, because I feel like with pouncing it in, not only does it really lock in my makeup and make it last longer, but I feel like it just looks more seamless. Like, it doesn't look so powdery with the powder sitting on top of my skin. Like, this really forces the powder to sink in to your skin and make it look smoother and better. Ooh, I'm getting it all over my top. And with this sponge technique, you're really able to target areas that you aren't able to with a brush. So for example, the sides of my nose usually is what gets oily first. So I like to take just a tiny bit on the corner and just press that in on the sides. This is one of my biggest like summer makeup hacks. I love doing this. And I do dampen the sponge. Gosh, I couldn't say that. So before I move on to bronzer, blush, and highlight, I'm going to just take this shade from the Natasha Denona palette, the Sienna shade, and just run that underneath the lower lash line. I'm starting with the outer corner of my eye. I just wanted something super light under the eye to just pull it all together. But next I'm going to take my bronzer. I use the Marc Jacobs Omega bronzer in the shade Tantastic. It's huge and it smells like coconuts. And I use a Morphe R2. I just want to look as bronzed as possible, and I like to bring it down the neck as well, underneath my jaw and chin, just to give me a nice little define moment right there. And then I'll take just a little bit up near my hairline as well, just over the nose a little bit. Alright, so now I'm going to be taking a blush, and I'm using the Milani Baked Powder Blush in the shade Luminoso. This is like a cult favorite right here. This blush is super glowy, so if you're not a huge fan of glowy, you probably won't love this blush, but I think it's the perfect summertime blush because it is so luminous. So you can see on my cheeks, I made it nice and glowy, and this isn't like a super pigmented blush, it just kind of like adds a nice light wash of color. And the next step, which is one of my favorites, it's a new step in my routine. I'm taking the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder in the shade Luminous Light, and this is new to me, so I just have the mini shade because I wanted to try it before I splurged and bought the full size. I take this mostly in the center of my face and down the T-zone and on my cheeks. It just really pulls your whole look together and makes you look glowy without looking oily. It's really hard to explain, but as someone who had very oily skin for many years and was afraid of luminous products, this has definitely changed that fear. I'm just taking, this is a Luxie 660 Precision Foundation brush. It kind of has this shape, and I just take it down. I don't know if you can tell on camera, but in person it's just making me look super glowy. A little bit on the apples of my cheeks. So I feel like it's just really made me nice and glowy. I just like to go back over with the blush to bring back any color that we may have lost there. And then I'm going to take a highlighter. I've been really loving the Pure highlighter in the shade Afterglow. Let me show you what it looks like. It comes in this palette, and it's that middle shade right here. And I just take a little bit of this because it's super metallic almost. I don't know, you'll see. It's very intense. So I just take a little bit right there on the top of my cheekbone, a little bit on the tip of the nose, down the center, chin. And then I take that highlighter on the inner corner and brow bone as well. I'm going to set my face with some Urban Decay Allnighter. Fun fact, I actually use my parking permit from school to fan my face. I tell myself this was $100, so I'm gonna use it for something. All right, while my face is really setting, I'm going to do my lips. And I'm going to line with the Maybelline Color Sensational Shaping Lip Liner in the shade 105 Nude Whisper. I love this shade. It's my go-to for any nude. This one is almost out, but I have another one ready. Okay, and then I'm taking my Tarte Color Splash lipstick in the shade Beach Babe. This is one of my favorites. As you can see, it is almost gone. Alright, and next I'm going to put my mascara on the top lashes. I like to use my L'Oreal Voluminous Lash Paradise, and on the lower lashes I take my Wet n Wild Skinny Mascara, so I'll be right back with that. Alright everyone, so I put on my mascara and this is the final look. Yeah, it's a super simple, easy summer glam makeup that will last you all day long. I kid you not, I'll put this on early in the morning and I'm up late at night, so it will last you all day long. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this makeup look, and don't forget to subscribe for new videos. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!